For thousands of years, the moon looked dead. Silent, frozen, unmoving. A lifeless world hanging above Earth, trapped in permanent stillness. From a distance, it looks empty, a pale surface covered in dust and scars, untouched by weather, untouched by oceans, untouched by life. And after the Apollo missions ended, we left it behind. Because we thought we understood it. Just a cold rock orbiting Earth. A dead world that stopped changing billions of years ago. But that is not what we found. Because beneath the surface of the moon, something is still happening. The ground still moves. The crust still shifts. Deep cracks continue to spread across the surface, as if the surface itself is still shifting. And hidden beneath miles of ancient rock and dust, there may still be places where sunlight may not have reached for billions of years. Places where water survives in the dark. Places we still do not fully understand. Which changes the question completely. Because the moon is no longer just a place we visited. It may be a world that never fully died. The moon feels familiar to us. We see it almost every night. Its shape never changes. Its surface appears calm, predictable, safe. But the closer we looked, the stranger it became. Because the moon is covered in scars, massive impact craters stretching for hundreds of miles. Ancient seas of hardened lava frozen in place after colossal eruptions billions of years ago. Towering cliffs, jagged mountains, and valleys carved by unimaginable violence. This is not a peaceful world. It is the remains of a catastrophe. Scientists believe the moon was born when a planet the size of Mars slammed into the early Earth. The collision was so violent that entire oceans of molten rock were blasted into space. For a time, the moon was not gray. It glowed, a burning sphere of liquid stone orbiting above Earth like a second sun. But eventually, it cooled. Its oceans hardened. Its surface darkened. And over billions of years, the violence appeared to stop. At least, that's what we believed. Because the moon is not completely still. Even now, its surface continues to crack. NASA instruments placed on the moon during the Apollo missions detected something unexpected. Moonquakes. Some were small. Others continued echoing through the crust long after they began. Unlike earthquakes on Earth, the moon has no oceans, no moving weather systems, no shifting plates like our planet. And yet, the surface still trembles. Deep beneath the crust, something continues to move. Part of the reason may be the moon itself, because every year, the moon slowly drifts farther away from Earth. At the same time, its interior continues to cool. And as it cools, the moon shrinks. Very slowly, the entire world is contracting. Its crust folds inward, the ground breaks apart and enormous cliffs begin to form across the surface. Some of these cliffs stretch for miles, like fresh wounds cutting across ancient terrain. The moon we see from Earth looks calm, but beneath that layer of dust, the surface is still changing. And in some regions, the danger becomes even worse. Because the moon is one of the most hostile environments humans have ever entered. There is no atmosphere, no weather, no protection. The sky above the surface is pure black, even in daylight. And without an atmosphere, nothing softens the violence of space. Radiation pours directly onto the surface. Micrometeorites slam into the ground at incredible speeds. Temperatures swing between extremes. In sunlight, parts of the surface become hot enough to boil water. In darkness, temperatures collapse hundreds of degrees below freezing. But the most dangerous thing on the moon may be the dust. It looks soft from a distance, almost like ash. But lunar dust is sharp, jagged, broken into microscopic fragments by billions of years of impacts. There is no wind on the moon to smooth it down, no rain to wash it away. The dust clings to everything: spacesuits, equipment, human lungs. Apollo astronauts described the smell inside their spacecraft after returning from the surface: burnt gunpowder. And the dust caused problems immediately. It scratched visors, damaged seals, worked its way into machinery. Even walking became dangerous. Every movement sent clouds of razor-sharp particles floating through the low gravity. And unlike Earth, there is nowhere to hide from it. But even in this hostile environment, we found something unexpected: water, hidden inside permanently shadowed craters near the poles, places where sunlight has not touched the ground for billions of years. Frozen reservoirs surviving in eternal darkness. Which means the moon is not just a dead rock. It is a world still holding resources, still changing, still hiding secrets beneath its surface. Which is why humanity is going back. Not just to visit, but to stay. For the first time since Apollo, new missions are preparing to return humans to the lunar surface. Not for days, but potentially for months, maybe longer. Because the moon is no longer just a destination. It is becoming a test. A place where we will learn whether humans can survive beyond Earth permanently. Future bases may be built beneath the surface, hidden inside ancient lava tubes large enough to fit entire cities. Protected from radiation, protected from impacts, buried beneath layers of rock formed billions of years ago. And deep inside those frozen shadow regions near the poles, water may provide drinking supplies, oxygen, and even rocket fuel. The moon may become humanity's first outpost in space. But surviving there will not be easy, because every danger still exists. The radiation, the isolation, the dust, the darkness, and beneath it all, a world that may still be shifting under our feet. We once believed the moon was finished, a silent world frozen in time. But the closer we look, the less true that becomes. Because the moon is not completely dead. Not yet. And somewhere beneath the ancient gray surface, something is still happening. Join us next time as we explore more mysteries of the universe.